So Bob, thank you very much for joining us. If you can start by telling us a little bit about Buttercups and why this sanctuary was founded.
Well, Buttercups started 25 years ago, completely by accident. We didn't mean to. We had two aspects. One was that we were friendly with the RSPCA local inspector and kept giving us different things to look after. And the other thing was I retired early and had some goats. The other thing was I retired early, and so I had some rare breed sheep which looked very much like goats, you know, horns and multicoloured. And someone came along one day and said, did I want to have a couple of goats because they were getting divorced, thinking that we already had goats because they were sheep. So anyway, we took these elderly goats on, and the RSPCA inspector about a month later phoned up and said, I don't know what I have in the back of the van. He said, it might be a goat, it might be a sheep, can you take it for us? So we thought, right, another goat, that's 3, and if it's a sheep then that's okay. So anyway, he brought it along. That's our Angora, who'd been found tethered in a field without any shade, and had been tethered around its back leg instead of around its neck. So that made 3, no problem at all. We didn't have any ground at the time, so we kept in the shed at the bottom of the garden, and we used our neighbour's orchard. And then a month later he phoned up again and said, please can you take another goat? We found it in someone's back garden. It had been kept in an 8-foot square pen for 4 years, and then they went on holiday and left it. So he bought that one, and that made 4. And then of course, not having anywhere else to take goats, he told his inspector friends around Kent, and we started having goats from all around Kent. And so it went on, and then it came from neighbouring counties and counties beyond the southeast. And so now in this year we have about 150 goats at the sanctuary, plus about 110 in foster homes around Kent and East Sussex. So we are a growing charity.
Great, thank you. So you've touched on it already, but why do you find the goats arrive at Buttercups? What neglect do you typically find that they experience before
We have
arriving?
goats come to us for all manner of reasons. Some very testing cases, some very nasty cruelty cases. In recent times we are having goats because of the financial situation that we're in, where families are downsizing on their property, and they may have had their goats for many years, and we are having to take them in because they're not able to take them with them. That's not to say that we aren't taking goats from abandonment. We had 2 separate instances this last few weeks where they've just been taken out into the countryside and dumped, and we've taken them in. And there's all manner of neglect and cruelty. And this one here, this is Byron. He was kept in a 6-foot wide pen for over a year, with another goat with a solid partition down the centre, so all he had was 2'9" to stand up in. He couldn't turn around unless he jumped up on the partition and turned himself round. When we found him he was brown, and when we shampooed him he turned out to be a white goat. He's been with us some time now, and he's one of our oldest goats. And we have all manners of cruelty and neglect which we put to rights.
So sad. And if there are any goat owners watching, or people who are thinking of having goats, what advice would you give to them in order to prevent their welfare from being compromised?
Well, the first thing is to try and find out what they're taking on. In other words, buy a book, ask someone who has goats already. If they're local, come on a husbandry workshop that we run them every 2 years, or at least come in and find out what they have to do to look after goats. I think that is the problem with any form of animal they have for pets, is that they don't look up as to what's involved. They have them, especially if they've got children, they have them when they're young, and the children grow up and they get fed up with having them. They realise they can't go on holidays and so on and so forth. So the thing is to find out what is involved, buy a book and try and look into it.
Great, well thank you very much Bob, and it really is an amazing sanctuary that you have here for these goats, and they have a lovely end to their neglect and cruelty, and a lovely end to their lives. So thank you very much for talking to us.
Lovely.
Thank
Nice
you.
to see you.